leap of faith.
This is the way. Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Tells me when you'll remember this.
Hello, critics, non-critics, and friends. Welcome to the Film Optix podcast, where we take a glance into blockbusters, indie films, and everything in between. I'm your host, Christian, and I'm joined by my good friend and my co-host, Devin. And today, we're taking a trip to the land before time to give our thoughts and breakdown on Jurassic World Dominion. And before we begin today's episode, you can listen to our podcast on podcast platforms around the internet, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. And if you are a new or seasoned listener to the show, we would love to hear from you guys. Follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter at Film Optix. That is Optix with an X. Or you can email us at filmoptix@gmail.com for any movie-related questions. Devin, how was your week? How was your weekend? What's been going on with you? You're rocking the Sonic the Hedgehog shirt today. Did you watch Sonic today?
I did not, but I did get this shirt. GameStop had a nice 2 for $12 deal on t-shirts, so I got a few.
Oh, you bought them today?
No, I had them shipped last week.
Gotcha. I've been looking to buy a Stranger Things shirt, but it needs to be like the right one. You know what I mean? It's very important. They get the right one. But yeah, what you been watching outside of Jurassic World? Just been catching up with some TV shows, playing some video games, watching some Xbox conferencing.
Yeah, I've been catching up on. I'm all caught up on Barry, except for tonight, and then I'm also catching up on Atlanta.
I have to watch both of those shows. I've currently been watching Umbrella Academy season 3, which we'll be covering here on the show within the coming week. So very excited to dig back into that. I think I'm going to start Cobra Kai because I've been having a lot of people telling me to start watching it. And I know I need to also watch Barry and Atlanta. There's just so many amazing shows out there. Like truly, TV never stops. With movies, it can be hit or miss for the most part, but definitely this may be a miss more than a hit for Jurassic World Dominion, as we'll get into here in a bit. So Devin, are you ready to journey back to the land before time and talk about Jurassic World Dominion?
Oh yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be right back after this introduction to Jurassic World Dominion.
We can't keep her here forever.
They find her, we're never gonna see her again. We gotta protect her. That's our job.
Humans and dinosaurs can't coexist.
We created an ecological disaster.
And we're back. You just heard a little snippet from the trailer from Jurassic World Dominion that was directed by Colin Trevorrow, written by Colin Trevorrow and Emily Carmichael, and stars Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, and Isabella Sermon. And the synopsis, it's a little long, but I'll give you a little taste of what's going on. For those who have not seen the previous 2 films, although I'm hoping that you have seen the previous 2 films for this. But long story short, dinosaurs now live beside humans all over the world. There's a very fragile balance that will reshape the future and determine it once for all, whether human beings are to remain the apex predators on a planet that they now share with history's most fearsome creatures in a new era. So the way that this review is going to go, as always, we get into initial reactions first, which is more of our non-spoiler section. Then we'll get into a little bit of spoilers and close out with our a few Easter eggs that we might have spotted out between the film. We'll go into our final thoughts and then our ratings, and we're going to get the heck on out of here. So I'm going to pass it over to Devin so we can give his initial thoughts for Jurassic World Dominion.
This movie was a bit of a mess, I would say. Going into it, I was definitely trying to avoid the onpouring of negative reviews that were coming in from pretty much everybody that saw it early. Like on Rotten Tomatoes, what's it sitting at currently? 30% critic, 79% audience. So definitely a big divide we have going on here. One of those type of movies.
And I believe the cinema score is around an A, maybe A- as well.
See, that's the thing when it comes to a movie like Jurassic World. You go to a movie like this, you could be entertained by giant dinosaurs, just kind of doing dinosaur things. But it feels like this movie kind of takes a turn and doesn't really rely on dinosaurs as much as the past movies had, because the main threat in this movie is not a dinosaur at all. It's a bug, which is just really weird and random. I don't know how you feel about it, but I was definitely hoping to see more so of threatening dinosaurs than just a bunch of bugs.
Yeah, so for me, for this movie, I was kind of dreading seeing it because, unfortunately, I really feel as if critics judge a movie way too harshly. I don't think this movie is that bad, and I'll tell my score obviously towards the end. But this movie it's okay, but it's not great. I feel like the 2 hour and 27-minute runtime is a little bit too long, but at the same time, I was talking with a few people on Twitter Spaces, and a lot of them were feeling that it wasn't long enough because there are a few story plots in here that could have been fleshed out a little bit more. But I do agree with you, Devin, about the main threat is supposed to be the dinosaurs. And for some reason in this movie, they are not they are a threat, they are the surrounding threats, but the main threat is this bug that we'll get into in a little bit. But
a Jurassic Park movie where the dinosaurs take a back seat. Like, you just can't, I don't know how that made it through in the writing room. Like, what was the process? They're like, we're going to make this about bugs. Like, who agreed to this?
I could not tell you, man. It's unfortunate because, I mean, to be completely honest, I watched this movie for one thing only, and that's Bryce Dallas Howard. I think she's a phenomenal actor, and I think she's a phenomenal writer as well. But I also believe that she is the number one well-written character in this entire Jurassic World sequel trilogy. We've talked about.
I counter that with my only reason for watching this movie, which is Jeff Goldblum. That Daddy Goldblum always comes through.
Of course. And this movie, it feels as if this movie kind of is backtracking a little bit because I'm not sure about you, but I did watch Jurassic World and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom prior to this, just to kind of get myself prepared. I did start watching the original Jurassic Park as well, but I mean, I'm just really not into it as much as I used to. I mean, like, I love dinosaurs. I think they're magnificent creatures overall, but I mean, I really like the first Jurassic World. I actually did. Like, I thought it was a very nice introduction, or fresh introduction to people who are new to the franchise altogether. But for some way, somewhere along the way, you get to Fallen Kingdom and it's like, well, that was messy. And then it feels like they're kind of trying to backtrack with Jurassic World Dominion, because this is supposed to be a world dominated by, these creatures that have roamed the earth over, I think it was 165 billion years ago. And we don't really get that as much as you said. I mean, there are a lot of amazing like dinosaur action fights. I think one thing that the Jurassic franchise, whether it's Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, does, unlike King Kong or the kaiju movies, I feel like the human story characters are definitely more fleshed out and they are a little bit more interesting. Of course, bringing back the original trio here with Jeff Goldblum and Laura Dern and Sam Neill. Yeah. I don't mind bringing back legacy characters, but they clearly use them in the marketing to get, these butts in seats. I thought it was all right. RIP to Daniela Pineda. She was barely in this movie, and I was looking forward to seeing her, as well as Justice Jesse Smith. They're not really in the movie all that much, unfortunately. And I think there was like a scheduling conflicts with Daniela because she was only on set for about 4 days. So that really shows on screen. You know what I mean? Especially towards the beginning. But it's just, I don't know. I'm not sure if it's that I'm tired of like sequel trilogies. Like, I think there's a way to bring new people into these franchises without, you know, it's kind of like they're riding on the nostalgia instead of trying to make this its own story separate from the original trilogy. And honestly, I really only like the first Jurassic Park to begin with. I think the 2 and 3 are okay, but like it's not a thing like, oh man, you know, like Jurassic Park is so amazing. Like it's just a fun, you know, blockbuster that you can kind of like turn your brain off and just watch and have a good time with the family. I think that Jurassic World Dominion is a great family film for people to watch, but I honestly, I also feel like 30% is like way too low, but I mean, that's just my personal opinion. There's a lot of things that worked in here. There's a lot of things that don't, but it's just, it's kind of all over the place. Like, I feel like it could have used a little bit more screen time, or I feel like, you know, after Jurassic World, they should have went in a different direction with everything. But I would say that, you know, Bryce Dallas Howard's character, Claire, I think that she has the most to do in these films, especially within Dominion. And we've been following Owen, Chris Pratt's character as well, but I feel like it's more about Claire, but that's just me. But that's just my 2 cents. But did you have any other things you wanted to mention before we kind of just hop on into spoilers here?
Yeah, I was just going to mention, I just think it's interesting that you brought up sequel trilogies, because it really just kind of falls into the same trap that the movie came into, where the first one comes out and it's well received. It does a good job. It brings you into a new world and everyone enjoys it. Obviously, Jurassic World, not quite as good as Jurassic Park, but it's still definitely a good start. And then it just kind of goes downhill from there. Each sequel after that, same thing happened in the 90s with that original trilogy. I just don't think there's a need to kind of force a trilogy out of this series. Like, you can tell in Dominion they just kind of ran out of ideas. Like, there was really nothing fresh brought to the table here. There was nothing new. I think the new dinosaur they brought in was called like Gigantosaurus or something. I don't even remember. It was so dumb.
It was like the bird looking one. Well, apparently, you know,
I don't even know. I don't even know what the new one looks like because it was so forgettable. I don't know anything about it. Because there were like 3 of them at the end, and I was like, okay, where are they coming from? I don't know what these dinosaurs are, because you're not introducing them correctly.
Right. So towards the end, we'll get into that once we get into spoilers.
I just feel like it doesn't need to be a trilogy. Just, I mean, if you want to reboot it every 20 or 30 years with new technology, that's fine. That could work well. But you don't have to force a trilogy out of it. It just doesn't work, and it's shown twice now that it's not going to work.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot, especially with like prequel movies like Many Saints of New York. It's, you know, it is a prequel, so it's what comes before. But I feel like you should be able to watch the prequel even though you haven't seen the original. Kind of like with Star Wars. I feel like you can honestly, there's a lot of plot holes in Star Wars, but I mean, even though obviously, you know, they start with 4, 5, and 6, you can easily start from the beginning and then, you know, for episodes 1, 2, and 3, and then go into 4, 5, and 6. And it still tells like a pretty balanced story. Like, a lot of things don't feel like they're missing. Like, there's a few things here and there, but overall it works. You know, with these sequel trilogies, I don't think every trilogy needs, or every sequel to a trilogy needs to be another trilogy. I feel like they could have just done, you know, just like a double feature type of thing, or just one movie. As we've seen with Halloween, they are, you know, rebooting that. It's been a few years. That makes sense, you know, because that works, because they're kind of saying, hey, you know, like everything that came before, just throw it out the window. We're starting all the way over. We haven't really seen that with Scream. Scream kind of pushes the story forward a little bit with, you know, its own separate adventures within Woodsboro. But for some reason, I don't know. It's not that sequels don't work. It's just that if there's no story to tell, like a good story where it actually makes sense, like The Force Awakens makes total sense. I love that movie. I think that's a really nice, a great rejuvenation into the Star Wars franchise. I think it did a fantastic job. But then, you know, we get really great sequels like Top Gun Maverick, where, you know, that didn't get turned into a trilogy, but there was only one other Top Gun before it.
I think that might actually be part of why this movie's being viewed so poorly and reviewed so negatively. Just coming right off of Top Gun Maverick, like coming out 2 weeks later, like a movie that did that well of creating a sequel and not relying on nostalgia too much while creating new characters and new stories. And to have this come out and it just kind of bombs because it relies so heavily on nostalgia and doesn't have any new or creative ideas to bring to the story. You could see even in Fallen Kingdom, it'd be hard pressed to find somebody who liked that ending. Like they really just kind of threw that out there and hoped it would stick. And I don't think anybody liked how that movie ended. And after this movie, you can really see like there's just nothing fresh here. There's no new ideas.
I would agree there. And I've also seen people online saying how some people are saying that the ending for this and for Dominion and for Fallen Kingdom were similar. And I'm like, well, I don't necessarily agree with that because, you know, there's a monologue towards the end of Dominion. But I do agree that, you know, it's the same question over and over. Oh, you know, what if, you know, dinosaurs were alive today? You know, like, would we be able to coexist? Would cohabitation happen? And the answer is no. Like, it's like Jeff Goldblum's character Ian said in Fallen Kingdom, you know, they were here long before us, and if we're not careful, they're going to be here long after. And that's kind of the whole thing right there. It's I didn't need 6 movies to, you know, it's just nothing, like you said, nothing new is being brought to the table. It's the same story over and over, just with new characters. And I think that's where its fault is. But what I really liked about it was the family element between Owen, Claire, and Maisie. The pseudo, you know, the family that ends up together. I thought that they had really great chemistry. I actually liked the new, you know, characters in the new Jurassic World franchise as a whole. I think the new characters are great. I do feel like the legacy characters were kind of brought back to put butts in seats. I don't think they necessarily did anything. I mean, of course, it's always great to see Jeff Goldblum, you know, throwing around some quips here and there, obviously, but overall, it was okay. I mean, I would recommend anyone to go see it. It's just, I don't know if I would go see it. Like, if it's on TV or something, like, you know, if I'm on like a plane and it's like one of the movies that like you had to pick, I would watch it. But, you know,
A good plane movie.
Yeah, a really good plane movie for sure. You know, something kind of just turn your brain off, watch some dinosaurs rip each other's heads off. But are you ready to head on into spoilers here really quick? And we'll kind of, you know, give our initial, our final thoughts, and then we'll get on out of here.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get to the end of this trilogy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is your first spoiler warning for Jurassic World Dominion again. That is your second spoiler warning for Jurassic World Dominion. So if you haven't seen it, definitely go watch it. You know, it seems as if we're tearing it apart. I don't hate the movie that much. I would never give this movie a 30% as critics are on Rotten Tomatoes. But I'll definitely give my score here in a bit once we cover just a few spoilers. So I actually wanted to circle back to what you were saying about the dinosaur fights towards the end. So there was 3 dinosaurs. I did forget the one that kind of had like the hands that were kind of like I don't know, like they were kind of like knives almost in a way, or like super long pencils, I guess, if you were to like attack.
It reminded me of the end fight of the first Venom movie. It's just blobs fighting each other in the dark, and I could not tell what was going on.
So there, obviously, there's the T-Rex that everyone knows and loves, and we get a little bit of the symbolism when the T-Rex is like walking through that circular fountain area. And then there was the other predator. It's like it's the world's like number one predator.
They kept saying that, but it looked really like it just did not look impressive. The dinosaur itself, it wasn't like a large dinosaur. It felt like it just looked kind of average sized.
It's known as like the T-Rex killer. It's the Giganotosaurus. It has kind of like that spine, like things sticking out its back and kind of like on its head too. So again, I think it's pronounced Giganotosaurus. Yeah, Giganotosaurus. Something like that. Sorry, I'm butchering that, but these dinosaur names are pretty hard to pretty hard to pronounce. But so, and there was the Indominus Rex, which was the I think that was in Jurassic World, and then there was the Indoraptor, the Indominus Rex, and the Indoraptor. I believe that was like gene splicing, like those were made up of multiple dinosaurs. The Giganotosaurus. I believe that is like the world's like number one, like overall, like predator, like amongst everything else. So I thought that was actually kind of cool, but a lot of dinosaurs kind of look the same, or at least, the adaptations or what we're able to piece together since, they were here ages ago. But I do agree. It was, I forgot the name of the other one that was there. I can picture it in my head. I just can't remember the name of it. And it's, I really don't know, but it was a pretty cool fight. I wish we would have gotten a little bit more with that, but also wanted to touch on what I was kind of mentioning earlier. Some people were saying that I was kind of coming across talking about with this film that the ending was the same, where between Fallen Kingdom, when Maisie lets the dinosaurs go, and then towards the end of this movie, there's that big monologue where, we just have to coexist with them. And that was like their answer altogether. And someone I was speaking to had said that it's like the same ending because they didn't do anything about it. They kind of just let it go. And I was like, I don't necessarily agree with that, but I think that they've definitely ran this franchise into the ground. Like you said, Devin, you get one great movie, the original Jurassic Park came out in 1993. And then the other two were like just okay, much like The Matrix. It's like the first one's really great. And then, they make sequels to it. And sometimes they're hit or miss. I mean, like sequels aren't necessarily a bad thing. There's a lot of great sequels out there that far surpassed the original Toy Story 2. I think Toy Story 2 is better, but that's just me. Of course, like Harry Potter, Chamber of Secrets, obviously, Godfather Part 2 and Empire Strikes Back, things of that nature. But it's this movie just it was all right. I would never give it a 30% though, because it did have some really nice moments. When, of course, we find out about Maisie's actual origin, because it was led to believe in the Fallen Kingdom that her grandpa cloned her, when it was then revealed that her mother was able to essentially impregnate herself and give birth, much like Blue has with her baby, Beta, which I think is pretty cool. But what are your thoughts on that?
On her being like asexually produced, basically. Yeah,
between Blue and Maisie.
It makes Fallen Kingdom make even less sense, because the whole thing from that was that she was a clone, and then this movie's just like, nope, she was actually created a different way. So like, what was the point of Fallen Kingdom besides just to get them into the wild. I don't know. It just all felt like a mess. I also wanted to mention this movie possibly has the worst character of any movie I've ever seen in Lewis Dodgson, the CEO bad guy. Might be the worst character I've ever seen in a movie. He reminds me so much of Crocker from Fairly Odd Parents, just being an absurd villain. Like, first of all, it's just Tim Cook. Like, the way they made him look, his hair, it's just Tim Cook. Like, that's all it is.
Just about to ask you.
That's all that character is. They're just making him the CEO of Apple. But it's...
I was honestly waiting for him, like, just sitting back waiting for like a WWDC, like Apple type situation. Like, oh, like what's coming out on Apple next year? You know, what's new in the market?
The way they wrote his character is just absurd. The noises he made, the movements he made was just... It's just weird. Like, you can't even describe it. It's just strange. Mm-hmm. And then he came out of nowhere. It's like a cool villain. There's nothing really redeeming about it.
No, he wasn't scary, like, in the slightest. Obviously, you know, with the threat being the dinosaurs and the locusts, which we kind of talked about. Well, we mentioned there was a bug. The bug's the locust,
yeah, that's like,
which, like, extremely big locust. Like, I was like, this is like Loki, a horror movie. Like, what is going on here? But yeah, the villain wasn't all that great. I really just like the protagonist. I feel like the writing was a bit weak at times, especially when like Laura Dern and Dr. Grant, Mr. Grant go to visit Ian, and they're like, Ian's like, oh, like, you guys have been Ian, no, it was Grant was asking Laura Dern's character, Ellie, sorry. Grant was asking Ellie how long Ian and Ellie were kind of like keeping in touch. And Ellie is like, oh, he slid into my DMs. I'm like, why did you have to say that? Like, that was not a good thing to say whatsoever. Just a few things here and there with that. And of course, the doctor who wants to make everything right by genetically changing, the genes in the locusts for them to stop eating the live crop or the crops in the fields. So it was all right. I mean, I feel like we can just get into our initial reactions because I have a feeling I know where yours is. You might be a little bit more surprised for me. I thought it was all right, but so let's just get into our ratings here. Well, before that, actually, and I'm actually getting a little bit ahead of myself. Did you have any final thoughts about this film before we close out?
I just want to say thank God for Jeff Goldblum. Like, he stops this from being a complete disaster in my eyes. Like, I also thought it was weird, the new character they introduced, Kayla Watts. I thought it was a cool character overall. It's just weird how helpful she was, like, to these strangers. Literally, they've never met, and she's putting her life and her livelihood and her entire plane on the line just to help them on a suicide mission. They've never met. It was just weirdly helpful as a character.
I would agree there. It is a bit odd because like she runs into Maisie for like a brief second while doing like a business transaction, and then they don't really dive into like why she decides to help. There's a few, funny moments with her. Obviously, Jeff Goldblum, like you said, with his, little quips. The
one with the dog was great. That got us laughing.
The one with the dog was that was great.
A callus on my shin.
And there was, he said it was like fourth down or fourth, the button from like the fourth button down to third up, same thing. Yeah. And situations like that. Yeah. I mean, obviously, he's always going to bring some laughs and some chuckles there. But yeah, kind of already went over my initial, or my final thoughts, I should say. It was okay. Like I said, I think it overstayed its welcome a little bit, but at the same time, I feel like they could have fleshed it out more. Not saying it needed to be a 3-hour movie, but I feel like they could have just replaced that whole Locust thing and giving us some more dinosaur action. So I don't know. It was all right. But let's get into scores here. I'll actually go first. Because I am by the time this is out, I believe my Jurassic World Dominion written review will be out on the In Session Film website for everyone to lay their eyes upon. That's insessionfilm.com. I'll put a link to in the episode notes for that for anyone who wants to read a little bit farther into mine. I thought kind of like the use of legacy characters here were underutilized for sure, but I'm gonna give this one like a solid like what's a C minus? I'll give it just like a solid 70. Just a 70 overall. I mean, the CGI in this looked fantastic for the dinosaurs, and they used practical effects as well. And I feel like the danger that they were in felt real. It wasn't just we didn't really necessarily know who was going to save whom, because these creatures are so unpredictable. But overall, I would just give it C minus 70% just overall. What about you?
Yeah, I'm not going to go quite as low as some other people have gone, but it definitely was pretty rough for me. It definitely just kind of a mess. And like I said before, it just feels like they're out of ideas, and there really wasn't anything new brought to the table. So I'm going to give it like a 50. I feel like Jeff Goldblum keeps it from dropping below 50 just because of how entertaining he is in pretty much anything. Like, what's the worst movie he's ever made? I'm going to look at his filmography, but I feel like he's never really been in anything that's been like horrible.
Well, anytime Jeff Goldblum is on screen, it's like everyone's ears just pop up. It's like no matter how bad the movie is, it's just he's always. I mean,
he was in Independence Day
Always.
Resurgence, which I never saw, but apparently is terrible.
Yeah, I mean, even if you look at, I would say, so do you remember the the new Robin Hood movie with Taron Egerton and Jamie Foxx?
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a perfect example, like, of you have these phenomenal actors, but, the direction or the writing just isn't all that strong. So it's kind of all over the place, but
Yeah.
I can't think of like a bad movie.
Yeah, he just kind of elevates it and just makes it definitely entertaining. I know every time he had a clip, it definitely got a chuckle out of all of us.
It felt off script as well for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, because it felt better than the writing of the actual movie. Like, it felt like he was like, I'm going to just do my own thing because I'm Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah. Mr. Pittsburgh.
Yeah, represent.
Yeah, that's right. Represent. But yeah, honestly, I thought you were going to go a little bit lower, but I thought you were going to hit around maybe like the 60 range, but I feel like 50 is a good spot for you for sure. But yeah, so 70% from me, 50% from Devin here. So that pretty much concludes our review of Jurassic World Dominion. Again, definitely go watch it. We're just two guys talking about our thoughts on the movie. We didn't like hate it. It's just, we just wish it would have been better, but that's our opinion. So definitely form your own. Don't not go see this movie because, of our opinion in of itself. But what's coming up on the podcast, you might ask? We have our Miss Marvel episode 2 review that we'll be covering this coming up Wednesday, which is June 15th. That will probably drop on the following on that Thursday on the 16th, just so we can give people a little bit of time to at least see the episode before kind of just dropping it out for everyone. We're also going to be covering Pixar's Lightyear for this coming up weekend. They'll be dropping this coming up Monday on the 20th. And of course, we actually tweeted out that we're going to be covering the rest of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think we actually mentioned this on the previous podcast episode, but we're going to be covering parts 4, 5, and 6 in one solo episode. So we will be covering all 3 of those last 3 episodes of Kenobi in one single episode for you guys, just so we can give ourselves a bit of a breather. Like we said before, Kenobi and Miss Marvel are kind of crossing paths right now, and I'm not a big fan of that. I know a lot of other people aren't. So instead of just not covering the rest of Kenobi, because that would be a crime, got to finish what we started, right? We're just going to do one episode covering parts 4, 5, and 6 for you guys. And we also have our Umbrella Academy season 3 review that I believe we're going to drop it on the day of release instead of the embargo day, which is, I believe, Wednesday. So Umbrella Academy season 3 is going to be dropping on Wednesday, the 22nd, which is the day that it drops. That'll be a spoiler-free episode since it is dropping on the same day of release. But there's one thing we ask our listeners to do. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast platform of choice, and make sure to share an episode of our podcast with a friend, whether it be your mother, your brother, your lover, whoever it may be. Make sure to share an episode of the Film Optix podcast with a movie lover in need. And we hope you guys have a great start to your week. And that is a wrap for today, everyone. Thank you all for listening. And if you enjoy the show, leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And follow us on Twitter and Instagram to stay in the know. That was Devin. And my name is Christian. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Peace.